Hey, everybody, coming up on today's show, and before we get started, backed by popular demand, we have Side Shot in the house. Hey, Side Shot, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How about you?
Good, thank you. Oh, wow, you seem natural at this.
Let me do a dad moment here. Talk into the microphone. Lean forward. Put your back into it. All right, sorry, carry on, Jay.
And by the way, that's Keith over there, everybody, if you didn't already know, the dad of the hour. But today, we've got an interesting lineup of topics of discussion, and first and foremost, it's October, so that means playoff Major League Baseball is going on, which is awesome.
Here we go.
Keith and I are very excited about this, so just telling you that. So anyway, we're going to talk. Just here's some meat on the bone. Side Shot brought to us the Lexus LX that has just kind of reared its head. We're going to talk a little bit about that today. What else we got, Keith? What else are we going to talk about?
This is courtesy of Side Shot, of what's his name, sitting next to me here. We've got an interesting luxury EV line to talk about called Lucid.
Lucid.
Yeah.
Yeah, with a name that kind of sounds like a tablet, but we'll get to that. We're going to talk a little bit about the new Winnebago Hike 100 that is out. That seems to be a good fit for you smaller vehicle owners that don't have quite the ability to pull around huge trailers. So we're going to talk a little bit about that.
The RV industry is evolving as well, and it's interesting to watch some of these changes.
Yeah. We got some SEMA stuff too, right?
Yeah, we got a little SEMA stuff and some we want to call it a Midwest Rust Belt pack among some governors and EV charging network. So
right on.
All of that coming up right after this. 17 wins in a row.
So we're going to talk about the Lexus LX that was just revealed. Thank you, Side Shot, for bringing that to our attention. I think we may have known a little bit about it, but you're a little bit more excited than we were. This is like the fourth generation. And previous to that, the third had like maybe 2 or 3, maybe even 4 facelifts. But this was a completely over-the-top change, man, I think, in comparison to what the old LX was. Would you guys agree with that?
I would say so.
Yeah, so, Lexus is telling us it is, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things that they have changed. And I'm going to get the hate mail. Here we go. You ready for this?
Let's just have it, man.
I'm going to get the hate mail. This
is what we do.
My first honest response when I watched their reveal was... And first of all, when Lexus does these reveals, and they've done this to us before, it's kind of like they just drop a 3-minute video, like a commercial on YouTube. Like, there's not this, like, you know, when Ford does a release, for example, like on the F-150 Lightning, it was an event, right? Same with the Mach-E.
Yeah.
Nissan did the new Z, right? The Proto Z. Right. It was a big event.
Even the Frontier was a nice event as well.
Lexus was like, man, here's your new commercial.
I mean, I expected it to be pretty long.
They did the same thing with the Tundra, right? So
and to that point, though, Keith, sorry for breaking in on you, but to that point is that when you have a flagship vehicle like this come out with a completely redesigned, even underpinning, the whole 9 yards. I mean, this is on a new platform for them. It's now on the Tundra platform, which makes sense for them from a global economic standpoint. I get that. But to not offer this vehicle, and there were a lot of really upset Tundra owners that were looking forward to that Tundra coming out, but what's missing here? What's missing?
Well, you're talking engine, right?
I am talking engine, yes.
I gotta say, my first response when I saw this thing, I'm gonna get slugged for this. I looked at it and I went, yeah, it looks the same as the other one. It looks the same as the last body style to me. I know, you guys. I know there are some subtle changes, but you can look at that thing and you instantly know it's an LX.
That's what they want, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think they, and that's a good point, Side Shot, that they don't want to lose identity with themselves in that regard. There are some subtle changes. Now, if you take a look at the NX that they teased us and brought out several months ago, the rear tail lights are very similar to the LX and NX, and then everybody's got that one mono light across the back that goes all the way across the back. I don't understand that.
This is going to be one of these things, Jay, where we're going to look back on it in a decade, and it's either going to be like, oh yeah, that was cool, or ooh, that's so dated. It's going to be it's definitely a style defining feature of this era. Okay, so engine. So they're doing the same thing they did with the Tundra. There is no V8 option. That's where you were leading with this, right?
That's exactly right. It's going to be the V35A
twin turbocharged V6.
That's correct. And the
3.5 liter if you're counting.
That is correct. 3.5 liter delivery cam, twin turbo. However, I think the horsepower they're going to be getting out of this thing is around 409, which is up from the standard iForce V6 that they're putting in the Tundra. I think when you get into the iForce Max Tundra 3.5 liter, that hybrid is going to have similar horsepower output as this Lexus. Now, the difference between that Tundra and this one is the Tundra is a bit detuned. This one is a little more tuned. So
Toyota is known to do that, and they typically do it to help with engine longevity.
Correct. And also there's going to be some EPA requirements that have to be met. How do you do that? You have to adjust the tuning in order to meet the criteria. I'm going to say this, and you're probably going to think I'm crazy here for saying this, Keith, but and maybe you will as well, Side Shot. But when I looked at this thing, I thought to me it appeared to be a bit bigger than the old one, and it seemed to be a bit more square-bodied than the old one. So the lines were not as rounded; they were more refined. Yeah. And you could see that in the hood. The hood itself doesn't have that round down nose, right?
No one has ever cared on this vehicle about aerodynamics. That's just not what this thing's about. You don't buy this SUV if you're concerned about fuel economy. And it was the same with the Land Cruiser, which has been discontinued. Well, right? Like, this is not a car that you go, what's the MPG, right? Like, this is flagship luxury. And some of the luxury from the inside, it looks like they're utilizing that extra space with some interesting things, right?
And so at first I was like, actually, from a distance, it looked like the car was small. I don't know what that was. But I got it when the camera got up close to it, I was like, wow, this is a big car. I'm wondering what they're going to do with this.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a good point. And to that point, I think the luxury version of this thing is going to come standard with 22-inch wheels on it, man, which is pretty incredible.
It's not an off-road. It's just not really designed. I mean, you could take it camping, but it's not like an overland.
It's not what you would hope for, even though it is equipped with, what do they call it? The MTS. The crawl features and those sorts of things, the drive modes that are that you have, like in the TRD package of the Tacoma. I think the Tundra TRD package also had that as well. But this is nothing new to this model. I think that previous years had the same drive modes and stuff. Now we're just dealing with a different powertrain as well as a transmission setup. This is a 10-speed automatic transmission, so it's designed it's designed around being able to take it off-road, and they give you that because they have the height adjustments.
I can't wait for the comments on this one. I'm going to get a ton of, well, you said you couldn't. No, that's not what I said. I didn't say you couldn't take it off-road. I just said it's not really targeting the overlanding crowd. Okay, let's just be clear. We welcome your comments, everyone. Please, please and thank you, and make sure you hit the subscribe button on the way. Jay, it's weird having to talk to two people instead of just me, isn't it? It's a little disconcerting.
It is, but I think it broadens our horizons. It gets different opinions, and I know that's what we're in store for. So, side shot, you were about to say.
So yeah, it's not the perfect off-roader, but if you want to take it on like an easy trail or something, maybe it was near your house, you probably wouldn't take it up a mountain. But it's trying to be a good off-roader.
You could.
But it's also kind of turning into like a VIP car.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much you want to beat up a nice luxury SUV like that, by taking it off-road.
Well, and speaking of the VIP car, there is a VIP setup for this thing. And if you looked at the interior of this thing, it's just amazing. Some of the the creature comforts that you have with this thing, the technology that has gone into this. First of all, they have a 12.3 inch upper screen, and then a 7-inch lower screen. Which obviously adds to that experience that you're going to have across the board. You can control everything from the front of the cabin. At your fingertip.
If you don't put that feature in now, you're like, I think you're to the point where you're losing sales.
Absolutely, you are. But it's well thought out in space, I think, because if you notice the front passenger seat will go all the way up and fold down and get itself just basically virtually out of the way if you're going to lower that rear passenger seat to carry, say, some a ladder or something, something a little bit longer than usual. The one thing that I found odd about it, though, which most of the SUVs are going in this direction, maybe I just can't see it or I missed it, but did you see a split tailgate on this thing? I did not.
It's easy to miss in like the very short, footage that we had. I did not see it, but are you gonna want that? I mean, I guess you would. You could potentially want that in a luxury.
I think so. I think to some degree in this day and time with a vehicle like this, it's kind of necessary because it becomes a little bit more utilitarian if you have that. I mean, let's face it, the Ford Bronco full size has it.
Now, They might, and everybody stay tuned, make sure you're subscribed. When this information becomes available, we'll let you know for sure. But I could potentially see this being a deal where depending on the package that you get, right, or the grade, as Lexus calls it, some of them may have that split tailgate configuration, right?
Right.
So you might have to upgrade your package to get that. Now Lexus says right now we know there's going to be 5 grades. 5. I'm holding my hand up to show 5.
That's right.
Right.
That's a good range.
So here they are. Do you know what they are? You want me to call them out?
I don't know what they are.
So standard, of course, right? Premium, luxury, and first ever, and this is a big deal to people like this, F Sport on the LX. Not everyone had F Sport on the LX.
I did see that.
And ultra luxury, right?
Yeah.
So getting F Sport on their flagship SUV, which typically, I think it was first introduced in what was it, the NX? It was one of the smaller ones.
Yeah.
I think it was the NX.
So there you go. It's made its way all the way up to the top now.
Yeah. So side shot, question for you. Now, with the F, how do you see that one selling in comparison to just the luxury models?
I think so. Based on what I've seen and how many people buy that F Sport out of, I don't know, maybe it even just the SUVs like an RX or an NX. I think that'll do well for them. It's not going to be like every one you see out there, but I'm thinking a lot of people will like that because it looks a lot sportier.
Right, and you know why I think they did that? I think it's a great marketing strategy for them with this particular vehicle. Why is that? Because I think that they're going to attract a lot of older buyers, older generation for the flagship luxury version of this thing. But then you can appeal to that, say, 30-something or 40-something crowd with an F-Sport version of this. And I think it was a wise decision on their behalf. And I think they'll keep it reasonably priced. I don't think it'll be out of line with anything else out there because you're going to get a lot with that anyway. One thing that I noticed on the luxury version of this thing, was those two back seats. They're like almost like captain's chairs.
Yeah, we're looking at a picture of them now, and they do look. I mean, okay, so on the one hand, you're giving up seating capacity, which is such a huge deal in the automotive industry. Like, manufacturers are just scared to have, if they don't have that three people in a row seating, it's like, oh, we're going to lose a sale, right? Because I got three kids or whatever.
Right.
Lexus is taking the approach on this vehicle that they're okay with that. Like, hey, man, this is a luxury vehicle. It's to transport. I mean, it's not a soccer mom-mobile, right?
No, it's an elite model. In my opinion, it's up there with the Cadillac Escalade or the Tahoe. Those types of vehicles. And again, those are vehicles that are not really necessarily designed for the utilitarian side of it that it's capable of. It's more geared towards that comfort level. And it becomes what we call a VIP type car.
Yeah.
And so again, Side Shop brought this up earlier in this segment that's what he felt like it looked like the direction it was going in. And I don't disagree with that, because some of the other features on the back seats are those massage functions. You can physically control you can massage your lumbar. You can get a full body workup, man. It's just insane. I mean, you can put people to sleep in the back seat, no problem with that stuff, man.
Well, here you go, man. Realtors have historically loved this vehicle anyway. Mm-hmm. And it's a little bit of an expensive ride to do like an Uber or Lyft in, but hey, if you request the premium transportation, here you go.
So, I mean, kind of talking on that, I have a question for either of you. Do you know if they will have, in the second row, 3 seats on any of the grades?
Ooh,
that's a good question, and we'll
make sure you hit subscribe, everybody, and we'll give you an update.
And we will look into that. There may be, but I don't know why they would want to do that with this one. But that doesn't mean that there is maybe in the sport version of it they do.
I'm thinking.
Yeah, so. I do think if it is like, let's say you're a realtor who has 3 kids, right? And so you need that duality of, right? And you might want a full bench in the back seat or something like that.
That's right. Yeah, and that is a strong possibility. Here's the thing that I know that's gonna get Keith. He's either gonna chuckle or
if the Braves hat didn't get me already. Go ahead, buddy.
Right. He's either gonna chuckle at me about this, but I just kind of think that, and you have heard us say this over and over again. We are continuously watching these. They're taking polls. They're live polling their customer base. And when Toyota said, okay, no more Land Cruiser, there was a lot of upset people out there. And the thought was, well, maybe they'll come back with it. We don't know. We haven't heard that for certain. But how do you go about changing that vehicle from what it was to what it's going to be without doing some live testing? How do you do that? You might go to your luxury flagship line and go over there and start trying out some of the features that are on this new LX, that could show itself up in that Land Cruiser. So we'll see. And because the first thing I told you so. The first thing that crossed my mind when I saw this, this could end up replacing the Land Cruiser. Some of this technology.
I just intentionally marked that there, so we can just come back to that little "I told you so" in 6 months. Okay, so you're probably right, and I would agree. Toyota, we've pointed to this. The parent, like I guess technically Toyota is the parent company of Lexus. That they have sort of laid back and watched and waited and gauged. Live polling is a term, Jay, you like to use. Right. I think this is no different. I think, when they made that announcement of the Land Cruiser being discontinued, and at some point early on, we thought, ooh, well, the LX may not continue either. Right. And then shortly after, Toyota said, no, we're going to continue that one. So now, a couple key details here that tie into that, right? So what do you typically do? Like Jay said, you do it in your flagship platform first. Why? Like Jay said, to help absorb some of that cost, right? So it's more it's more expensive to retool your line, to redo all these things. You have to do that on your premium vehicles first to absorb that cost. Okay, so new platform here, GA-F is GAF is what they're calling the platform for this one. It's 441 pounds lighter than the previous generation, which is, I think, a pretty big deal. I feel like most of that's probably because of the loss of that V8 engine, but you know.
I agree. Yeah, some of the underpinnings are different. With the same body, the platform they're using is a Tundra that helped them out.
And Lexus loves this whole body on frame thing. They love to point to that body on frame. Like that's just their big, you know. And part of, I think, one of the things that makes this thing so cool is because they have stayed true to its roots, and the way it was built from the very first generation, people just loved that platform. And they've been very careful to not deviate too far from that. Again, people don't care that it's a brick. People just don't care.
They don't care. They like the luxury, the comfort, the VIP feel that they get with that. Now, where it could not be truer than another region of the world, which is Saudi Arabia. The Saudi Arabians absolutely love Toyota and Lexus. The LX has been a desirable vehicle for their demographic. And so I think that, you know, I think a lot of people in this country get a little lost in thinking that we're the only ones out there, when Toyota is secretly and Lexus is secretly back there making Land Cruisers for other customer bases as well as...
Those oil barons have to get around somehow, man.
That's right. So to say that we'll never see another Land Cruiser, I think, is completely wrong. I think we will. It'll come back, and I think that what you are seeing right now is a tidbit of what it may look like in, say, 2 years. We'll see, 2-3 years. So throw that out there again if you'd like, and we'll see, because I will tell you so.
I say I told you so.
Yeah,
all right,
that's right.
So here's a little side bonus round. We'll just mention that along the lines of that Saudi Arabian market, we saw an interesting reveal that Lexus made on that feed, which was a UTV, right? ATV. Think four-wheeler for you traditionalists, right? That was hydrogen-based. It was a concept vehicle. You know, they're trying to do a green movement. I'm not sure how well that would go over with the off-road woods crowd, but it's interesting as a concept. I'm just not sure how. I love hydrogen stuff. I just am not sure how realistic that is going to be for an off-road sports crowd, right? Really, power sports.
Really, to start doing that, the first thing we need to do is maybe just start putting hydrogen stations at gas stations, or most gas stations. And then you could probably say, hey, we're coming out with this ATV powered on hydrogen.
So you're, what, 11? Let's get that thesis going. Start writing that paper now. Get you Doogie Howsard right up into a college diploma if you can just get that done in the next couple of years. What do you think?
Yeah.
Do you even know who Doogie Howsard is? Do you get that reference? No. He was it was a TV show. Character played by Neil Patrick Harris, child genius that became a doctor like way before his time. Like basically he was still a teenager and he already had his, you know, medical degree. All right, I digress.
Yeah. So here we are. We have Lexus not only bringing back, you know, bringing out the this next generation of the LX, but they're also bringing out a hydrogen fueled ATV. Well, why not? Because Honda just revealed their Jet the same time today. So, you know, there you go. So don't you find it interesting the time that we are in right now? If you are not please get your head out of the sand, people. This industry is changing so quickly in a highly advanced technological form than we have ever seen it before. So I can't wait to see what the vehicles are going to look like.
Let me ask you a question, Jay. So as somebody that's served his time behind a desk in the automotive industry,
yes,
served his time in the R&D department in the automotive industry,
right?
Do you think maybe there's a possibility here that some of these designers, that some of these engineering teams, in light of the pandemic and the remote work from home, were able to get through some concept stuff that they've been kind of holding back on for a while because they didn't have the number of interruptions and distractions that they would normally in a typical corporate office space, like, you know, at Toyota corporate headquarters. I mean, I'm just kind of spitballing here, but does that seem maybe like why we're seeing some of this stuff come out now?
It could be part of the reason, Keith. I mean, the pandemic has certainly changed a lot of the way we do things today, and certainly being isolated and having your own space to work with and not being distracted certainly helps that those creative juices get out there a lot more frequently and steadily. I think, though, that we are in a place and time of technology growth that the pandemic and technology that we have at hand, it's like, well, we already know how to do this, so why don't we just go ahead and put it to use now? Let's just start testing it. Why not? And I mean, let's face it. I mean, Captain Kirk just flew on a rocket, you know, finally. I mean, he was on the Enterprise back in the 60s, man, and he's now finally getting on up into space.
At like real. 90, right?
90 years old, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So think about it. You just couple all that together with technology advancements.
Now, I didn't catch it. I'll have to go back and watch it. But do you think he did any of the, you know, like Warp 7, like, you know, just did any of the whole, like, you know, set phasers on stuff? Like, wouldn't you be tempted when you got on board to just, you know, Captain on the bridge?
Right? Absolutely, man, absolutely. Or you have the helm. You know, something like that. But yeah, I do. I think it's great. But I just think that we just happen to be in a place and time in our lives that the growth of technology is it's just oozing out, man.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much going on, and the pandemic has forced us to rethink how we do things in a better way and maybe a more technologically advanced way, so that we don't stumble out of the chute like we did at the beginning of this pandemic.
Little recalibration, maybe, right?
I think it is a recalibration. I said that before, you know, where I think that Ford has done that. Ford has proven that they can not just give it up and throw their hands up in the air. They basically recalibrated. They didn't throw it all away. They just said, we're going to do this. And if there isn't one bigger automaker out, GM has basically recalibrated everything they're going to do. And I mean, it's just amazing the direction that we're heading in the automotive industry. And you know, this is just another example with the technology in this LX is so far advanced from any other vehicle that we have. And we're going to talk about it in another vehicle that's out there coming up soon. But you know, anyway,
we're
in exciting times.
It's a good segue, Jay. So, and for those of you that are just joining us on the YouTube side, thank you. We have a podcast as well. You can find that on our website over at partscounterguru.com. There's a podcast tab near the top leftish of the website. Click on that. It'll take you to whatever your favorite podcast platform is, you'll find it there. Our podcast is free, just like all other fine podcasts, as I spit on myself over here. But now,
before we move on.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Here we go.
So I think we should get everybody's votes.
Okay.
Including anybody watching this down in the comments. Tell us what you think about the LX. What do you think about it?
Okay. Yeah. Let's get some opinions.
Yeah. And do that. You know how to do that? Just in the comment section, just leave a comment and make sure before you leave our page that you turn that subscribe button to gray. You hit it, it turns. If you're not subscribed, it'll be red. If you are subscribed, it'll be gray.
There you go.
And we need your help. We need to keep doing this, and we're looking forward to it. So
we're having a little bit of a technical challenge this week. Working on some equipment, everybody. Sorry for any glitchiness that you witnessed. It also occurred to me, Jay, probably not the best color choice to be in front of a green screen with you know, blue hat, blue shirt. We'll see how that works out. I might end up shirtless in some of these videos, everybody, or the Invisible Man. Who knows?
You should you can always put unicorns and stuff on there, man. So you know, unicorns and rainbows.
Yeah, there you go. So one day, son, This could all be yours. Here, why don't you bring us into the next segment? Let's get you
going.
Yeah. So I'll just say this, and then you can bring us in. You found this. You told Jay and I both about it, so I think it's only fitting that you explain to everyone the importance here of what we're about to talk about. Take it away.
So I have been really interested in this company called Lucid, who has started out of Arizona, and they are an electric car company, and they have been working on, it's almost like the LX. They're trying to get like different types of people, maybe like luxury car people or sports car people, into their car, which is called the Lucid Air. So, and we're a little late on this, but now when they first launched their first car, it's somewhere on the, I can't remember the name, but it was the Lucid Air, and then there's a name behind it, and it was like $140,000, but it was an ultra luxury premium car.
So they've dialed it back. Let me step in here and help you out. And they are now kind of targeting what looks to me like the Model S crowd, right?
Yes.
Like that price range, just under 100,000, 77,000. I think they start.
It's the Air Pure, and they've finally gotten it down to like, I guess BMW 5 Series prices.
Yep.
And it's so interesting. They're doing very well, but I really don't hear a lot of talk about them.
Well, they're a smaller company. They have 3 editions of the Air. There's the Dream Edition, the Grand Touring Edition, and the Touring Edition.
Which the Dream...
actually 4.
Just kidding,
the Pure.
there's 4.
The Pure. Sorry, my fault.
Yeah.
See, this is why I let you run with this.
The Pure is the cheapest one that...
Here in the luxury car industry, we don't say cheap. We say the least expensive.
So the Lucid Air, I think, So the Lucid Air, you could put a deposit down on it for you could reserve one for $1,000, but the Lucid Air Dream, $7,500 is what it cost you to reserve that baby, and it's sold out. They sold out of that.
$169,000 EV reservations sold out. Yeah.
Right. I tell you what, though, I think this thing could be a Tesla killer.
1,011 horsepower.
It really is. And the range is something.
520 on the top end. On the Dream.
For the
Dream Edition. Yep.
Unbelievable. 500-mile electric sedan range is just, I mean, it's unheard of. Okay.
Now, because they got the glass roof, Jay. Here we go again with the glass roofs, right?
Well, will they fall out? That's the question. I mean, we'll find out.
Tesla and Ford have both had problems with that. Now, what are some things that you think matter in feature-wise or design-wise in this Lucid that are noteworthy?
So this car is very technologically advanced. They're really focusing on kind of the interface and almost making it about you, so there's a lot of personalization features, and it's like a huge screen at the front, as we're seeing in all cars now, and they really care about how well this is. It's not like, you click a button and you wait for Android Auto to connect for 20 seconds and then it says error.
You sound like you're speaking from personal experience there.
Right. Some of the other technological pieces of this vehicle that are not surprising to me, but they're building towards the future is Dream Drive. You were talking about that a little bit, I think, and it's a ADAS basically, and they've introduced this. It's the first automotive LiDAR in the U.S. Basically, this thing is it's advanced driver assistance, and it has 14 visible light cameras, 5 radars, 4 surround view cameras, and ultrasonic sensors. And the reason why they're doing this is for fully autonomous driving.
Yep. Which isn't going to happen anytime soon, but I know. So everybody wants it. Yeah.
They're trying to get to level 3 autonomy by near future.
Right.
Sure.
And this, how do you do that? Well, you equip your vehicles with everything it takes. You just kind of wait on the software to catch up with it and all of the technology to kind of catch up with it. Now, we said this earlier. We do not believe, Keith and I strongly believe, that we are not ready for just average everyday person owning a fully autonomous vehicle. We are just not ready for it. Now, where the autonomous vehicles come into play is something that we were talking about with the commercial vehicles. With the current truck driver shortages that we have for long haul, that could be an answer to that problem of fatigue and those sorts of things, where you've got a fully electric, say, commercial vehicle that is powered by these types of devices, and they're just fully autonomous, and they just get there and back, and you don't have to worry. And how do you do that? A dedicated lane, right? We've mentioned that on several podcasts about autonomous vehicles.
There's gonna have to be infrastructure change somehow, somewhere, anyway. Mm-hmm. So for those of you that are like, we're never going to be able to afford to do that, or there's not the real estate space to do it, or whatever. Okay, but there's going to have to be something. If it's not Jay's dedicated lane, it's going to have to be something.
That's right. What do you think it'll be, Sideshot?
Why not just build over the top of the existing freeway system, right?
Yeah. Or, like, Tesla, Elon Musk, and he has the Boring Company, and quite a while ago, he was talking about how he would make an underground tunnel system.
Could tunnel your way, yeah. It's going to be more of a problem in some areas of the world than others, but yeah.
Right. And with all the technology advancements that we have had over the last, just as little as 5 years, I think that these things are becoming more and more of an actual option for us to try to get there, and we'll see how that happens. But Lucid is a beautiful vehicle. I do like the fact that they look very futuristic, and I like that.
Yeah,
I really dig that with this type of a vehicle. But again, I still can't get past the name. I
feel like we should be dropping acid.
Right. Well, Lucid Air. It sounds like a tablet or something. And they've got an SUV that's going to be coming as well, and they're working on it. It's called Project Gravity. They unveiled it in September of 2020, I believe. So it'll be that's going to be their SUV entry. I don't know how much further they've gone with it since it was released.
Hey, I didn't even know about that.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh.
But also, that'll probably do well for them.
Well, there goes another 500 hours of internet time, Jay. He'll be online checking it out.
Right, there you go. So keep us informed, when that's available. But I think that, again, and don't be surprised, folks. We've got companies out there that, it took Elon Musk 12 years to make 100,000 electric vehicles, right? Now you've got two companies in China that have been able to produce each a couple, 100,000 or more vehicles in about half that time. Do you see where I'm going with that? So for folks that are saying that, it's just a flash in the pan, these electric vehicles will never happen. Well, there's a lot more going on out there than a lot of people know.
This is a component of Moore's Law. Moore's Law, for those of you that care, basically the rate at which things can double upon themselves. So Google it if you're interested. But yeah, so that Moore's Law aspect is definitely in play on the EV side.
Oh, absolutely is. I am under the understanding that they have produced this Lucid Air. It rolled off the assembly line in September of this year, 2021. Mm-hmm. I don't know to who it went to what customer, or if it was delivered. But I am really excited about this line. I want to keep up on it. I like its wide stance, the body style. I love its really super low profile. To me, it just exudes luxury. And that's why you're going to pay, 160 something grand for their top of the line. But again, Keith and I always tell you this. Who's going to buy this stuff? Well, somebody will buy this stuff. It's probably those VIPs.
Yeah.
But what does that do for our technology? What does that do for the auto industry? It opens up the doors for myself, you, Keith, you, Sideshot, in the future to be able to afford to buy one of these things, because we have to rely on these types of startup companies to produce these vehicles, to get this technology out there and actually test it in real time to see how it works. And I think this is going to be a winner. And you can thank Elon for starting this whole thing.
For sure.
I mean, Elon, got to give cred where cred's due. Guy took a chance, and it's the best selling.
No, come on, Jay. Ford and Chevy made a bunch of lead-acid Rangers and Chevy S10 pickup trucks back in the 90s for AutoZone that really were the founders of, technically Ford owns, they've invested in Rivian, so technically Ford was first. I mean, this is all, we get all this.
No, actually, Amazon owns Rivian.
Oh, right. These are all actual comments that we have read on our. By the way, we welcome your comments, everybody. Make sure you leave one before you leave.
Also, you know how we were talking about those people out there, weird things going into the mic?
Mm-hmm.
You're probably more annoying to them because.
Oh, right. Well, I paid to be here.
When I take my headphones off to clean them because it's so hot out here.
So wait a second. You mean that the person that paid to be here in this spot, that in reality is helping fund the paychecks going to the people out there doing the work, those people might be annoyed by me? Is that just to make sure I understand your okay. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, and also it's kind of hurting my ears.
Okay. So, anyway, nothing beats a good leaf blower at 7 a.m. That's all I'm saying.
Right, right. Yeah. So, stay tuned for updates on it. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. And when you hit that subscribe button, if you're not subscribed, it will change from red to gray. And if you are subscribed, just stay subscribed. We need you to stay on board. We appreciate it. Thank you for all the help.
Yep.
PartsCounterGuru.com/podcast, by the way. Or just PartsCounterGuru.com. Hit the podcast button too as well. So thank you guys for all that. So awesome. Okay, so speaking of exciting things up and coming, what's all this stuff about SEMA? What's going on at SEMA this year? Anything? You think it's going to be electric vehicles or anything?
Nah, it's
any overlanding stuff? You think people will be overlanding at all?
No, not at all, man. I'm telling you, from what I've seen, from the hundreds of vendors that we've checked out, here's a real world example. We had a vendor sent out a press release yesterday on a product that they were going to unveil at SEMA, and from what I could tell, I think it crashed their website or their mail servers, because we tried to reach back out to their PR person for an interview and their mail servers just puked. So yeah, nobody's interested in doing any of that right now.
Nobody's interested. But what we can tell you about SEMA is that Keith and I will be there. We have reached out to numerous individuals who we hope we can interview or live cast or live podcast from their booths or with them or whatever. Even if we don't have people with us to do it, we're still going to be doing it. We're going to be talking about some of the events that are going on. But some of the neat things that are happening, Mopar basically, or let's just say Stellantis, because that's what they fall under, the Ram and Jeep line will be heavily boosted at SEMA with some of their concept vehicles this year, and we're going to try to bring that to you.
That's right. And how can you find out if and when this becomes a thing? When they release this information, when they do their press release, when they unveil, if you will, these concept vehicles, how can you find out? How can you learn about those? You got this one, Sideshot?
You know what? I'm just going to let you do it.
Make sure you hit that subscribe button, ring the bell. We will be going live at SEMA all week. We'll live cast it right to your mobile device if you so choose.
Exactly. Now, here's the thing. All right, so Mopar is keeping the details under wraps right now until SEMA kicks off, and we'll be there for that kickoff. They've released some teaser images of some things. You can check that out. You can go to the Mopar website or I'll drop a link in this video. But they hinted at a modified version of the Jeep Wrangler 4xe plug-in hybrid.
So this is what you were talking about at the beginning of the segment here, where you said nobody's interested in this stuff. This stuff is just going gangbusters at SEMA. Like, it is hugely popular, wildly popular. So, Jay, I know you were joking, but yeah, it's going to be wall-to-wall Overland, right? So Jeep is smart to position this, right?
They are, as well as the Ram 1500 TRX, which is also an off-roader. And there's a concept that's going to be based on a vintage Jeep J Series pickup, the first Jeep model to wear the Gladiator name, from what we understand. And so what we know
Gladiator,
is that
means if you're going without underwear. Oh no, that's Commando. Sorry. Okay,
that's Commando. Yeah. That's the other Jeep, right? And there a Jeep. There was something like that, Commando or Commander or something like that. Anyway, but Mopar announced they had a line of parts and accessories for the Jeep Wrangler 4xe, and they will, and it includes lift kits, tube doors, rock rails, winch, home charging station, yada yada yada. I mean, the works. They also will have an all-electric Wrangler concept there, and so we'll be covering that and taking a look at that as well for you. So you got to stay tuned for that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
I am as well. And what I saw in the press releases, and because nobody's camping anymore,
right,
or overlanding, but there was a image of the Ram 1500 TRX with a bed rack on it, as well as a tent set up nice and neatly beside it. So that tells me they're going after the overland crowd.
I have seen more rooftop tents in this undisclosed location where we're broadcasting from now.
Yeah,
Side Shot and I, this week, than I've ever seen in this undisclosed location previously.
There's a lot.
Yeah, there is a lot. Yeah, I've seen it here too, man. It's unbelievable. So there you go. Stay tuned for SEMA show. We'll be there. Come on. Make sure you subscribe. Hit that subscribe button and pay attention to us, because we will be there. And you won't know unless you subscribe and hit that bell. So there you go. What else we want to get into? What's next, Keith?
How about we stay in the camping lane for just a minute?
Okay, let's do that.
Good idea.
So now I like the way Winnebago handles their media. They seem to do a really good job. Of all the RV companies out there, they tend to understand well kind of how things work on social media these days.
Right.
So this is no exception. You know, they made sure to get this out to a lot of places like Motor Trend, where we picked it up. But Winnebago just released something that's everybody contributing to this right now thinks is interesting for a couple reasons. It's in their hike line. It's a towable. Now, this is not the first member of that hike lineup.
Right.
They've done others, but this one they're calling the Hike 100. It's a really, really small towable, smaller even than their mini Winnies. Now, the Hike is designed for more of an overland crowd, so you can pull it off the beaten path. Right. And I think the reason that they're going, this is a hard side. So I had a Jayco Baja way back in the day that was also, high ground clearance, had a toy hauler on the front, but it was a fold down or a pop up. So the hard-sided stuff has a little bit more of an advantage if you're going like out in the desert, for example, where it gets cold at night. Right. Or on the Gulf Coast where it gets hot during the day, right? But these hikes are designed to get you onto that BLM land where you get a little bit more space away from everybody else.
Right. Absolutely it is, and it's very well thought out for that purpose alone, which you have the solar panel option. It's got air conditioning, a very low-profile air conditioning unit on it. It comes with you've got an induction stove. It can hold up to 20-pound cylinder of propane.
Yeah.
It just has everything that you would possibly need to get off the grid for a little while, man.
These things being as small as they are, they're really designed for you to spend your time outside. So you sleep in it, you cook in it, you know, there's a bathroom in it, right? But it's going to be crowded if you're in there like during the day trying to watch television or podcast or whatever.
Yeah.
And so the interesting thing to me, and I would love to know the research data that Winnebago had that led them to this. But Winnebago seems to think that there's a big enough market for these hikes, and they could be right, that there's enough people, because more and more people are traveling in their RVs. They're not necessarily camping. They're using them as a vehicle, no pun intended, to get all the way to the other side of the country and stay for 3 months.
Right, exactly. And you can do that in this if you're willing to go, with a little less amenities. But really, actually, you're not giving up much other than just space. And if outdoor living is what you want to do, this is perfect. If you just want a hard shell sleeping environment that's comfortable, that's climate controlled, it can do all that for you. Plus, this thing, it has the canopy that comes, the awning that will roll out with lights built into it already.
Well, and again, that kind of gives you more outdoor living space, right?
It gives you a bigger footprint than you would initially have otherwise. Now, let's face it, this thing it's just under 16 feet long. It is just over 10 feet high, and it's about 8 feet wide. But here, the awning length is an additional close to 11 feet. So you're getting a wide enough footprint to really kind of enjoy yourself out of the elements if you need to just sit outside and catch that fresh air. Otherwise, you can be inside. Now, the one thing that I will point out to most people, if you're interested in something like this, and I want to get into why I think that it's interesting and why Winnebago did this, it will only sleep maximum 3 people. It's geared around a 2-person environment, but there are some of the models that have a 3-person capability. You've got full-size bed situation. You've got bunk bed situations.
It's almost kind of a van life setup, except without the van, right? So, like, let's say you already have a Toyota 4Runner or even a smaller SUV or a crossover. You could pull this out with you.
Or even some of these electric vehicles like a Rivian. Yeah. I mean, a Rivian would be totally capable for this thing. Now, here's my thought on this, okay? There's 2 things that I think Winnebago has done here. First of all, they realize the market has completely blown up. They're out of trailers, the big full-size ones. You can't hardly get them. You can't even get the furniture to go in the dadgum things.
That's right.
So there's a huge void to fill here. Plus, guess what else you can't hardly buy right now? New vehicles, bigger vehicles. There's a shortage on vehicles, inventory. Right. So how do you accommodate that? Well, you build a trailer that's a little bit smaller that could be towed with your existing SUV, where you don't have to go out and buy another vehicle. You just basically give it a towing package. You get the trailer light hookups. You get your hitch, and you're on your way. This thing it's not.
So here I've got the weight. Yeah, I've got them right here. So dry, as we like to call it in the RV industry. Dry just means like no water in the holding tank, no propane cylinder filled up,
no food, nothing like that.
Right, no luggage in it. Right. They're saying about 2,700 pounds, and then it has a max. The gross vehicle weight ratio is 4,200 pounds. Right. So it gives you about 1,500 pounds worth of stuff. And for those of you that like math, water is it's a little more than 8 pounds per gallon. So I don't, just depending on how much water you want to take with you, there you can do the math on that. But
so it'll hold. Was it like 25 gallons of the gray water, and then your drinking water? I think nearly 5 gallons. Right. So which is pretty good.
They're being very careful here to keep this thing under 4,500 pounds.
Yep. They really are,
for obvious reasons, right?
Right. For a lot of reasons, and again, they're trying to market to folks that really don't have that capability for anything larger. It's kind of almost like it's a minimalist van life type situation here. I think it's a win-win. I think they looked at the market. They saw, hey, you know what? People are not going to stop buying this stuff, but they don't have anything to hook it up to. Why don't we build something that they can hook their existing car up to? The cars are already out there, so why don't we just go ahead and I think that's what they targeted here. I think it's a win-win situation for them.
Just under 16 feet long, and we're expecting, as the larger hike is just about 30 grand, that it should come in pretty far under that. So sub 30,000.
So An EV, a Rivian, could carry this thing, no problem. Electric SUV, all electric SUV could carry this thing. So there you go. I mean, don't be afraid to get out there if you're an EV owner.
As I like to say, just don't go where we go, because it's hard to find a spot. So y'all just go the opposite direction and we'll be good. Right.
So hope this was helpful to you guys. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and tell a friend, ring that bell so you get notified for all the up and coming videos. So thanks a lot. So now, after we've discussed, some EVs, some off-roading things, now we just need a place to plug all that stuff in, right? I'm feeling,
I gotta say, man, it's good to be back doing a full podcast. I'm feeling a little bit like Vince Neil right now. You get that reference?
I do, yes.
So Vince Neil, let me just, for those of you youngsters watching, Vince Neil was in a famous band called Motley Crue. Have you heard of Motley Crue? They're huge. They were huge. He lives not far from us. He lives out towards Mr. Jade. I don't want to give out his address, although the gates say MC on them, so I'm not sure how secretive he wants to be. And he's been going back out on the road lately, and he's pretty out of shape, and he's out of tune, and he's had some struggles. And so my comparison here was, it's been a long time since we've done a long form show. And it's good to be back, man. But I'm like, my chops. I'm like, I can tell I haven't played in the band in a while, right? Like, I'm doing things like yanking my headset out and flailing my arms around.
Well, just to give our audience a little bit of underneath all of that, like you said earlier in the podcast, you've had some computer glitches going on, and you're at an undisclosed location with just terrible Wi-Fi capability. I mean, all that stuff is.
Sideshot needs one of those rock star fans on the stage. He's over here like fanning himself.
Right. Well, we're going to get you off stage here in a minute, man. We'll put you out the door. So, and we'll do it in fashion. So, but to wrap this all up, I just think in a nutshell, man, we continue to have people say that electric vehicles are not going to make it. We don't have the infrastructure.
I can do it. I got it. Because we read your comments. Hey, man, this is a fad, man. This is going nowhere. You're wasting your time. What do you do to that, man? I don't know. This is just, well, it seems like a long shot to me. I mean, this is just kind of a trend. Like, it's just, you just wait. There's no way they're going to be able to support. I mean, come on, man. Where are you going to plug all these things in? How am I doing?
You're doing great, man. I think that is absolutely perfect.
And Jay and I are not. This is not an EV channel. We are not. We're not pro EV. We're not anti EV. We are fans of things with wheels.
Yep.
Especially things that go fast with wheels.
Right.
And we are automotive industry people, and so it would be foolish of us to not pay attention to it, because we have seen that it is more than a fad.
Well, not only that, we have colleagues in the automotive industry that have been in the industry for a long time, and that's their livelihood. And there's a lot of fear that these electric vehicles are going to take jobs away, and it's just not the case. When one door closes, another one opens, and that's really how you have to look at this, because the rebuilding of engines, so production engine rebuilding is not going to be going away for a while. What you're seeing is a transition from that to the electric vehicle world, but it's going to take some time. But through that process, you have companies like Ford that just invested nearly $12 billion into a battery factory and F-150 Lightning factory in Tennessee and Kentucky that is going to create 11,000 jobs, not take jobs away.
What?
Yeah. Right. So there you go, man. I mean, so it's. I think that you have to pay a little bit closer attention to it and be a little bit more open-minded in that regard. All these vehicles are going to they require brake pads, they require tires, they require technology that has already been made. Some of you may be working in some of those factories that are making components for these EVs already.
And to be clear, we don't think we're done. Like, this whole lithium battery kind of situation, this is not where we're going to end up. We're in a transition state. This is Gen 1, if you will. We are moving towards something. Technology will continue to have Moore's law is going to have to be in play. We're going to have to continue to push the envelope. You know,
Right.
I would not want us to stop here because it's not, honestly, it's not, you know, these lithium batteries are not a great long-term solution. So, yeah, I mean, we're not done yet, right? But but we are using what we've learned to improve and push the envelope.
That is correct, and it's changing so quickly. Just every year it changes and new technology comes about. But what's important here is the active cooperation at the state level in a lot of regions where they realize that the changes to infrastructure need to be made now. And what I'm saying is just like Oregon, California, and Washington State, the entire West Coast formed a coalition for basically a way to build a charging station system, the infrastructure, so that you can easily charge your electric vehicle up. Now, there's two things you get from that. First, that electric car, your everyday usage, you're going to have the ability to travel interstate from one state to the other without any problem. You'll be able to plug in somewhere and get charged up. But what they're really looking at is at the commercial level. So being able to charge commercial electric vehicles is huge. So in a roundabout way to get there, what I'm saying is we have learned that there are several states in the Midwest where the governors have gotten together to form a coalition. Basically, it's an EV charging network plan. And
can I read the states? I got them.
Go for it. Go for it.
It's Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Minnesota, and Wisconsin.
Okay, none of those places.
I have a friend from Wisconsin, and he always used to correct me on that. He was like, "It's not Wisconsin, it's Wisconsin."
Right.
Okay.
Now, here's the bigger picture to this, right? So, for you not to think that this is serious, these governors think that it's serious enough that Michigan
and they didn't make that decision in a vacuum. They were compelled to do this.
Yeah.
By other factors, right?
For a lot of reasons. Again, this pandemic has driven us to rethink some of the way we do some of the ways that we do things or have done things, and to move to a better service environment for the trucking industry, the freight line industry, and then also lowering emissions. Now, we got two things against us there. First and foremost, we got a shortage of help in the freight line industry. We had a pandemic. Now we've got log jams to where we can't get truck drivers in those trucks to get those things, any of the goods to you. And I think Jay, and I can back this up. Okay, this is let me take half step back here for just a second. Okay. This might sound just a little bit political. It's really not. Just bear with me. It's all factual. It's good, but you might just for a second think I'm about to make a political statement here. So the states that got involved in this basically looked at the situation and said, I think they said, somebody's going to do this. If we don't act, somebody else will. Right. We are leaving money on the table by not being the providers of these charging stations, because the states looked at it and said, this is revenue dollars that we are leaving on the table. And I'm telling you that factually because one of these states, I forget which one specifically, was state funded. Did you see that, Jay? It said, it was Michigan. State funded EV charging network. Now, this is kind of like, remember, we're broadcasting from an undisclosed location today, and they have these rules as we get buzz bombed here by an insect. They have these rules here that you can't ride electric scooters, that you can't ride, go-karts, anything like that, unless it's a licensed vehicle. But you can sign up for Segway tours here that they provide. So as long as they're making money on it, it's okay. So I think this is kind of one of those things where they saw the opportunity and they said, people are going to need this. They're going to pay for it. Why shouldn't we be the ones to make that money, right? Absolutely. And even in a state, Michigan, where they have a franchise law where Tesla cannot be sold directly to a customer in that state. And I'm going to assume Rivian is going to be the same way.
Those people have to go across state lines to buy and have their vehicle delivered. Yeah.
Right. But in order to have revenue come into your state, you're going to have to allow people that own those types of vehicles to come into that state and be able to charge those things. But again, I think there's another directive behind this, and I think it's the commercial vehicle aspect of this, because again, those states are heavy in incoming freight and outgoing freight.
And there's more money in charging a commercial vehicle in theory because it takes more to charge it, right?
Absolutely. So
more kilowatt hours, I guess.
Right. So it'll be interesting to see where this goes and how long it takes the rest of, the country to get on board with all that. I think, again, and we'll come back and revisit this. Keith, let's mark this. Let's put this in our time capsule like we always like to do. And that is
I hate to say I told you so.
What do you want to do?
In 5 years.
Okay. Yeah.
In 5 years, we're going to, and maybe even sooner, but I think in 5 years, you're going to see every single state in this country have some sort of EV charging network in place in their state. I think that it's going to happen. That's just my opinion.
You heard it. You heard it here first, everybody.
Yeah. So anyway, let's have more EVs, man. They're coming. And as long as they're here, I'm going to report on them. We're going to report on them. SideShot's going to keep bringing us in.
Yeah, so, more Lucid articles and all that.
Yeah, so let's wrap this up. I'm going to let you guys take us out. I'm just going to be. I will say thank you to our fans for listening, and these guys are going to tell you what else you need to do before we get off for the day.
All right, get your motor warmed up here, Jay. Thanks for coming along with us on the ride. Good luck to your team there, the Braves. I wish them the very best. I'm pretty sure they're not going to get 17 in a row at this point, but good things could happen. And everybody, thank you so much for coming along with us. What do they need to do?
So you probably heard us say this lots, even just throughout this one video, and we need you to keep doing this, and to get better at it, we need you to turn that subscribe button gray, like all the videos that you watch, and hit the bell so that you... What is this?
It's me showing you thumbs up. It's called a visual cue.
And hit the bell so you know when we upload, so you can watch our videos. And if you want to, you can watch or listen to the podcast by going to partscountergurus.com.
Yep. Podcast tab in the top left area.
Great job. I'm going to be without a job, man. I'm working towards retirement, so.
He got at least, he's got to finish school. We got to get that thesis done on the, what was your, whatever that, yeah,
we got to get him through college, man. We got to keep doing this.
And then I'll be out of the job. All right, everybody. Right. I'm going to leave you with words from the late, great George Carlin. Haven't done one of these in a while. Never underestimate the power of stupid people in large groups. Thanks for watching and subscribing. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, guys.